So do you always need to touch the girl on the initial interaction? No, you don't. It's not really necessary at all, really. You know, a lot of guys, some guys sort of think like, oh yeah, you should always try and make sort of physical contact with the girl, but it's really not that necessary. Um, I would say definitely worth doing when you're on a date with a girl, but an initial like street interaction, really not that necessary. You know, I've seen guys, you know, twirl the girl around, do this whole sort of kiss, trying to sort of kiss her on the cheek, trying to touch her and stuff. It's just like, it's just not necessary at all. Um, and it's one of those things that guys do thinking that it's going to give them bonus points or something, but it's just a load of bollocks, really, because it doesn't. You know, the rest of the interaction is really what counts, not like, you know, you touch her on the arm, oh my god, oh I'm so turned on now, I'm going to definitely meet this guy again. It's just like, it doesn't work like that, you know. You can do sort of like friendly cordial touches initially, like for example, let's say you exchange numbers, you do like a little hug, you know, like a sort of mini hug or like a little kiss on the cheek. You know, if she's like Hispanic or Latina or something, do like a little kiss on each cheek or something at the end. That's more of like a sort of a friendly cordial thing anyway, so it's like, what it doesn't mean that, oh yeah, you've broken the touch barrier now. And besides, it's like if you exchange numbers and then you leave, then it's like whatever touch you've built up at that moment, it's going to be gone by the next time you meet her anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's overhyped. It's similar to when guys try to kiss the girl like on the street. They make a big deal out of that. It's like, oh yeah, I managed to kiss the girl on the street. It's like, you know, who cares? It's not a big thing. If anything, it's actually a suboptimal thing to do, because then she's going to go away feeling potentially a bit slutty, feeling a bit of regret, and it's not actually going to do anything in your favor, you know, unless, you know, you go on an instant date there and then and you push things all the way. But even then, you still would have been better off doing it in a more private venue anyway. So yeah, so if like you're on an instant date with a girl, then yeah, okay, doing a little bit of touching has its use, you know. You can potentially escalate a bit further, try and go all the way, sure. But if you're just doing a standard sort of street approach, exchanging numbers, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, don't overthink that stuff, really. People talk about Kino and that kind of stuff. It's bollocks. I mean, definitely do it on a date with a girl, but if you're just exchanging numbers and then leaving, it's just literally going to do next to nothing. So yeah, don't need to worry about that. I know some guys like to do a thing where they, you know, have a bit of banter with the girl, and then afterwards they're like, oh, high five, and they put their hand out like that, and then try and get the girl to, you know, comply or whatever. But again, it's not doing anything, you know, it's not actually doing anything. Okay, great, you've got a bit of compliance from her, she gave you a high five, but it's just so inconsequential, doesn't mean anything, doesn't mean she's gonna like drop her panties for you or anything. It's just whatever. If you want to do it, but don't think that it's actually, you know, it's a really amazing thing or something that you must do, because sometimes guys come up with these like dumb rules where it's like, you must do this, you must do that, or and if you don't do that, then you failed. The only thing that can help a bit is when you're sort of doing sort of like a handshake and you just sort of keep holding her hand. That can be quite good. It can sort of build up a bit of, you know, sexual tension. But actually, most of sexual tension is built up like in a non-verbal sense through sort of eye contact, proximity, and sort of facial expressions more so than, you know, actual sort of physical touching at that point. But yeah, if you're in like a big city, I mean, you're not going to be doing much touching most of the time anyway, really. You know, if you get a really strong positive initial interaction, then yeah, sure, you might want to like hold her hand and keep holding her hand. That's quite effective. You know, I've done that a few times. Yeah, it's been quite effective. But I've also done it with girls who weren't that into it anyway, and like they remained not really that much into it anyway. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference, really, in my opinion. I think like if you're going on a date with a girl and you're not doing any physical escalation, then things just aren't going to progress, and you're either just going to get friend zoned or she's just going to lose interest and just move on herself, you know. So that's when it becomes a lot more important So yeah, don't overthink it too much. Don't think that you have to touch the girl in the initial interaction. It's not really necessary most of the time. If you want to do it, do it. But you know, the other stuff is just way more important. Don't sort of think that it's going to make a huge difference because you've done it, you know. Obviously, if you're doing night game, or you know, like what guys call gutter game, you know, where they're going around on the streets at night, that can be a lot more effective, because it is just, hence, you know, it's just a circumstance of the environment. You know, you can get away with more, you can push things further more quickly. But in the broad daylight, middle of the day, you know, do you really need to do it? Not really. You certainly don't want to make the girl uncomfortable. You know, cordial touches, you know, they're not going to make most people uncomfortable, but still, they're not really that necessary. Guys who, you know, talk about it a lot, they're sort of overrating them a little bit. It's not really that necessary. It doesn't make a huge difference. I'd say focus more on the other stuff, really.
Thanks for watching. If you want to be able to do what you see me do in these videos, head over to my online course, which covers pretty much everything you need to know about day game to get to a good level and actually implement it in a manageable way. Link is in the description.